Hello, today is Tuesday, and it's July 30th, and we've already lost half a recording today. So it's a little bit rough.
Somebody left a dead battery in the camera and took the plug-in battery with him on his bullshit trip. So we lost half the news. Now we're doing it again. So if we seem a little less than enthusiastic about it, that's why.
Which if we're less than enthusiastic than normal, I feel like that's especially bad because we're kind of like monotone anyway.
We've already talked about the French wine.
We have.
We've already had this discussion, but let's do it again. Let's talk about Donald Trump and the wine without an H.
Trump says U.S. could tax French wine in retaliation for digital tax. And
A wine-pocalypse.
A wine-pocalypse for mostly probably French, like people, or not French people, but rich people here in the U.S. who actually drink French wine.
This story points out the U.S. is the #1 consumer in terms of export of French wine.
Maybe it's because I'm uncultured, but I don't think I've ever had a French wine.
I don't think I have either. No. Is Boone's Farm French?
Well, clearly. It's pronounced Bonnet. Bonnet's Farm.
So, yeah, this is about the digital tax. And Trump says, hey, man, hey, monsieur, that digital tax ain't just about the big tech companies. You're messing with the US of A. And when you mess with the US of A, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And the horns are shaped like tariffs on your wine.
It's the most non-aggressive bullhorn I've ever seen.
That would hurt them. But he also said they could think about other things. And I imagine the reason he says, like, maybe it won't be wine. Maybe it would be something else. I think the reason he said that is because he doesn't know what else France exports.
I kind of got that vibe. It's like, but surely if you really wanted to hit them hard, you'd do cheese, right?
You think I imagine.
I think I've had French cheese.
Isn't there French cheese that incorporates wine?
Oh, I'm sure.
Do you double
There's like
down?
every kind of weird cheese imaginable.
Does that cost double?
Probably. Well,
tariffs?
When I'm into the cheese counter.
Will you, now that you're like a married woman, will you approach the cheese counter with more confidence and like just show your ring?
No. I will, if they try to talk to me and I'm not expecting a reply, still flee.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And your marriage doesn't fix all ills. That's a personal problem.
I think a lot of people believe that it does. The other tariff, we all know that Trump is tariff crazy.
Yeah.
He loves them. It's his favorite thing in the world to do is to apply tariffs. Well, it's probably not true, but probably like it's in the top 10, I would say.
Yeah.
And the Chinese tariffs are the big ones. And some people, Apple in particular, they have this attitude that, the laws, those don't really apply to us. We're Apple. But Mr. Trump says, I don't think so, bro.
Trump says Apple will not be given tariff waivers or relief for Mac Pro parts made in China. I don't know. It's not the worst thing in the world to me. Like, there's far worse things that Trump has done. This is
what if you have to buy a replacement Apple Pencil and it costs 20% more?
Listen, that's just the price. That's the price, man.
Let's rehash, Krista, as we have already said, which parts are made in China.
Circuit board, I remember. The stainless steel enclosure.
The cheese grater itself.
The cheese grater, which I found the cheese grater to be strange because I feel like that would be probably fairly cheap to make in America, but I guess you have to pay people a living wage here. So
the metal cost in China is rock bottom.
That's true.
They got all those refineries and stuff and smelters. That makes a lot of sense. Mice, trackpads, and the power supply. So God knows how much it's going to add to the cost of a Mac Pro.
A $50,000 Mac Pro.
If you have to add a power supply made in the U.S. The other thing that Trump was doing while he was defending the big tech companies from the French aggression was also going after the big tech companies himself.
DOJ announces broad antitrust review of big tech, pushing down shares of Alphabet, Facebook, and Amazon.
It's antitrust. It's anti-competitive behavior. And I don't know that they can prove that they aren't doing some of those things.
They probably can't.
Yeah, there's the Amazon, like, third-party seller marketplace, pushing out the people who are, like their own suppliers. Facebook, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Facebook
No.
is pure evil. And then Alphabet with the whole ad stuff. We've seen some fishy behavior. So, the problem is I don't think that anything great's going to come of it. I think they're going to fine them, small fines, which will benefit no one except the government.
I was going to say, the government will love that.
To make more government, to make more fines, which again will benefit no one. And nothing will change. But that's just my prediction. We'll have to see.
It's a hot take, spicy take.
And in one situation, they doubled down and they gave some more comments about one company in particular. I wonder why they would target this one.
Amazon destroyed the retail industry across the U.S., says Treasury Secretary Mnuchin. I mispronounce it every time I try to say it. I mispronounced it 3 different ways when we did this before.
So yeah, the White House hates Jeff Bezos and Amazon and the Washington Post. They've never made a secret about it, and they are saying the obvious.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't really. I mean, it's not controversial. I mean, it sucks that they're going after him, but like they're not wrong.
We had a much better discussion about this the first time around when we talked about Walmart was probably actually.
Walmart was the real foot on the neck of local businesses, at least in Eastern Kentucky.
It was kind of Walmart destroyed the retail industry, and then Amazon is in the process of destroying Walmart.
Yes.
So, maybe somebody bigger will come along. Who knows? I mean, the speed at which Amazon launched to number 1.
I feel like it was overnight.
But they're not even number 1. They're a shockingly small percentage of U.S. retail.
My family doesn't order stuff online a whole lot.
Well,
they're starting to.
I've already forgotten, but you said you ordered something.
Oh, I did. I ordered stuff for my pantry. We're organizing our pantry. That's like
pantry
a big wedding
organization
thing that we're doing.
You're already wrecking the home that you were about to take over.
Listen, we're making it better. We're working together. We decided together what we were going to get.
Uh-huh.
We did, yeah. Like we went through on Amazon and looked at everything.
Who clicked order?
I did.
Oh. Not your account.
No, it wasn't. He has Prime. I should have used his account, but...
You didn't order Prime?
No. We don't need it right away. It doesn't need to be here in like one day. It's going to be here Wednesday.
I don't know about you. Well...
I don't need it that fast.
And a final story from the White House. Once again, an odd... They giveth and they taketh away, Krista.
Mm.
And this one's an odd giveth because I'm not sure why they would defend this behavior.
White House. Google's work in China is not a security risk. I kind of think it is, though, at least based on the Dragonfly stuff, which they have canceled, quote unquote, again.
Well, it may not be a security risk for Americans.
Yeah, maybe that's why they don't care. They're like, oh, whatever.
In some situations, you might even think that America could have access to Chinese data, similar to how China has access to American data when we use Huawei, right?
Right.
So it could be good for us from a spying perspective.
Maybe that's why they're like, all right, we'll deal with this.
But in terms of like PR and human rights and that kind of thing, definitely an issue.
I'm not sure if the Trump White House really cares about that.
That's true. And just miraculously, this is a huge coincidence. On this same day that the accusation was made by Mr. Thiel, that's when Google announced the Dragonfly would be terminated permanently.
Permanently, quote.
Right.
Totally not going to redo it again.
Permanently in Chinese time.
Yeah.
Chinese government time. We all know that encryption backdoors, an encryption standard with a backdoor is basically, it's like a human-sized doggy door on your front door. Like that's basically what that is.
So totally secure.
It renders it pretty much obsolete.
Only your dog comes in.
Right.
A human-sized doggy door, only your dog comes in.
Humans could presumably come in, but it's not for humans except for cops.
So, yeah, that'll never.
Right.
It's a cop door.
And that was explained to us by the highest echelons of power.
U.S. Attorney General William Barr says Americans should accept security risks of encryption backdoors. I don't think I will, though. I don't think I'll accept it.
Now, this is a little bit of a new narrative because the FBI people were like, no, just because the technology doesn't exist doesn't mean we can't come up with it. Just come up with a way for only us to get in. It's super simple. Why don't you,
Easy.
You stupid nerds, need to quit complaining and just get on this. We know you can
just
do
throwing
it.
a football around the office. Like,
So Barr is taking a slightly different tack. He is saying, yeah, it's a security risk. Okay, what about it? We need it because maybe you'll lose your data. But what does your data matter, Krista?
yeah, obviously it doesn't.
You don't even have Amazon Prime.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah. So you getting hacked is a small price to pay. A tiny, it's a speck of sand on the moon that is national security.
Yeah, still, it's that argument's still not swaying me.
Well,
They need to work harder.
you know what the great thing about it is from their perspective? Your opinion doesn't
Matter, yeah.
So when it comes to this cybersecurity that they need to go through our data to achieve, and also to combat China and all these other countries that are hacking us, North Korea, these crazy North Korean, Iranian hackers, we need a new system, and we'll get it.
NSA forms Cybersecurity Directorate under more assertive U.S. effort. I'm reading the subheadline underneath it. I was debating whether I needed to read it, and then Ryan flipped the camera back, and you saw me squinting trying to read it.
Because you have poor eyesight.
I do have poor eyesight. I got contacts this week, and it's amazing.
And
I had to wear glasses all week, and it was
But
miserable.
the contacts clearly are the wrong prescription.
No, they're right. I actually get my eyes checked every year. It's like 3 feet away. And it's in light gray text. Of course I can't read that from here.
So here's the thing. If you read this story, and this is a paywall Wall Street Journal. I read it on like CNN.com or something. Just Google the headline. Google News, the headline. But what this boils down to is they're kind of merging some pieces of the NSA together. And I took this, it's kind of like the Department of Defense, right? Because the Department of Department of Defense, do you know what we used to call it?
No.
The War Department.
Oh, but that sounds scary.
Exactly. So
The PR there is just...
the Cybersecurity Directorate sounds to me more like the Cyber Warfare Directorate because it's going to be focused on retaliation.
It's straight on the offensive, not the defensive.
It sounds a lot like that. I mean, we might get attacked first, but it's not about stopping those attacks. It's about counterattacking.
Making them regret ever trying to attack.
The best defense is a good offense.
Right.
That old chestnut. So we are getting a dedicated agency to waging cyber warfare. I guess we need it. I don't know. I question the government's efficacy when it comes to cyber anything.
That was the first word that came to my mind too, was efficacy.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. This, it's rare that we get some good news in the tech news. Really rare.
Especially in the government section.
But when, again, I said this last week or the week before when the FCC did this, when there's a slam dunk, they really slam it home. Like they tear down the backboard when there's a slam dunk because
Yeeted across the
why
court.
not? And because this is such a slam dunk, even after the FCC has taken their dunk and did their victory lap, now the lawmakers are doing a different plan.
A bipartisan bill that could end our robocall hell just passed the House, 429-3.
What about those three
I
people?
was gonna say, we need to know who those people are.
It's mentioned in the article.
So who enjoys a robocall?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they're just super lonely. So what this does, the difference here, is this requires a definite opt-in. You have to give permission, and it can't be one of those hidden away in the terms of service. You click OK to agree to 5 million pages of text. No, you have to explicitly say yes. You can robot call me, and if you don't, then you could be fined. And now this was just the House. This still has to go through the Senate. Although, like you say, like those three people, you're really going to get called out.
Yeah.
If you're a senator who votes against
I'm already
this.
seeing the slow motion black and white ads during election season where it's
oh yeah,
so and so voted for robocalls. We can't
So-
trust them with the future.
This also makes some rules about the telecom companies and how they have to deal with all this. But it sounds pretty good overall, I think. I mean, it's really hard to not get behind an end to the robocalls.
Oh, yeah, who enjoys those? I get them on my work phone. I don't get them on my cell phone very often, but my work phone, it's just constantly. And I have to pick it up because I'm like, what if that's a client?
A guy called me the other day. And he was like, "No, I'm returning your call," and I had to explain it to him, and his mind was just blown.
It was nice of you to explain it because usually it's just like, whatever, dude.
I mean, we're both victims there, so
Yeah.
I got no, enmity toward him. He's just a poor rube who doesn't know how the world works. Facial recognition. Krista, will there be any facial recognition at the wedding?
No.
You guarantee that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So you can come and be all right.
That's good. And because people don't like facial recognition, I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah. Probably for
And
good reason.
They dislike it so much that city after city is banning it. We had San Francisco, and then was it Philadelphia?
There was some place out in Maine, like it was a smaller town that banned it.
Oakland. Oh yeah, the New England one is the one I was thinking of, and then
Yeah.
Oakland most recently. But this one is a ban on a federal level.
Facial recognition may be banned from public housing thanks to a proposed law.
This is anybody who gets HUD money.
Yes.
What's HUD stand for?
I don't remember, but I know it's like,
Housing and Urban Development.
how's that? I was thinking Section 8, but Section 8 housing.
They're related.
HUD.
They're related, right?
Yeah, they are.
Anyway, if you take any money from them, so this is like your housing projects.
Yeah.
I think projects.
Section 8, yeah.
Projects is now such a vilified word that they probably don't use that anymore.
Well, I had a cousin who lived that life for a little while, and I think they called it Section 8 housing.
Which also doesn't sound good.
It doesn't know. Well, I guess it kind of connotates like the government helps pay for the rent there, but
Which is exactly what it is.
yeah.
But they also build, that's not just collective housing, they also build actual homes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they let you get like the easy mortgages and stuff,
Hers was like an apartment complex, so.
Right. Any of that cannot use facial recognition. Now you might be thinking, well, why would they use facial recognition? Well, a lot of landlords wanted to switch away from keys and key fobs and make it pure like Apple Face ID to get
into your
in
apartment,
to your
yeah.
home, which keeps people out that aren't on the lease and also lets them track your comings and goings. So that's probably good.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I mean, it's I question some of those housing choices. Some people definitely get into those places that shouldn't be into those places.
Yeah, who can afford better.
You've probably seen the big story this week. You can get your $125. Krista,
Woohoo!
what would you do with pennies from heaven, $125? You've paid your student debt.
I have.
You can just go crazy with it. What are you going to do with it?
I'd probably put it toward our bar tab at our wedding.
Oh,
That's like, well, I have to pay my venue, and then the bar tab are like the last two probably big expenses.
that is super boring.
You're welcome.
But the news is still, well, I don't know if this is good news or not.
Equifax to pay at least $575 million as part of FTC settlement. They may pay up to $700 million over a 2017 data breach. That's like literally pennies from heaven for them, right? Like they don't really care about that.
This is a pretty light sentence, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, considering that Facebook just paid $5 billion for a similar type of deal. Now, this is broken up. Some of it is a fine that goes to the government. $300 million is for the affected consumers, but if they use up all $300 million of that, then it goes up another $125 million. $175 million to the 48 states, and $100 million civil penalties, which again will go to the government. Indiana and Massachusetts did not sign on to this deal.
Ooh.
Which means those people might still be suing them. So, yeah, you can go on. There's all sorts of links where you can go on, and it'll tell you how to figure out if you were affected. If you can prove, like if you got your identity stolen and you had to spend a bunch of time dealing with that, if you can prove that you spent hours dealing with that, Equifax has to pay you per hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you had to do
That
that,
might be worth it. Yeah.
you would definitely look into it. And supposedly you get $125 a person, although I've seen some stories denying that. I think you do have to prove some things. But you know what? If you got time on your hands, I'd look into it. Why not?
If you're just at home all day reading for tendies and you're like, you know what? I want to buy my own tendies.
Do you think those people even had credit?
Probably
scores?
not.
Tulsi Gabbard, Krista.
I didn't know who this was.
Yes, I was just going to point out you don't know anything about Tulsi Gabbard.
I never heard that name before.
You are not an informed voter.
I'm not.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard has a little bit of a problem with Google.
Looks like your ad blocker's on.
You can read the very top of the...
Tulsi Gabbard sues Google, claims election interference over...
Right.
Scroll down.
Right.
Scroll down.
Yeah, it's right here.
It's not.
Right there. Top of the...
Over violations of free speech. It's a
She
totally
said-
different headline.
She says questioningly. Yes. So, Tulsi Gabbard was kind of a star at the first presidential Democratic debate, that is. Because she's a Democrat, of course, a filthy leftist, but she has some very pragmatic ideas about certain things. She was a 4 tour of duty veteran,
Wow.
so she's very anti-war. And anti-war is a real easy ticket to be on.
Yeah.
You know, like Obama and Trump both campaigned on. That didn't work out, did it? She's also budget type stuff. She's very pragmatic from what I know.
Not tear down every building in the U.S.
I mean,
Pragmatic.
I don't know a lot about her, but she seems like one of the more sane Democratic presidential choices. So, huge Google results after that. Because like you, no one knew who she was.
Yeah.
No one ever heard of her. So everybody was Googling, who is this Tulsi Gabbard? Let's find out more about her. Well, Google... They got all those search results and they said to themselves, "Is this the Russians? Shut it down."
Shut it down.
So Tulsi Gabbard's campaign ad on Google Ads was suspended during the heaviest traffic of her lifetime.
And she's not happy about that.
Ouch.
Understandably so.
In fact, she says that it's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damages were done. I don't remember exactly how many because...
I like that you were frantically scrolling like it was going to go away.
It looks like our ad blocker is on. But she's suing them, and she expects to get some payment. Because she did pay for those ads. And during the time when she needed them most, they were not there.
I would think that, I told her, I was like, I would think, it sucks because she did pay for the ad, but, I would think if the person was even a little bit smart, they would still find her campaign website. And then he was like, you're talking about voters, they're probably not going to find it.
So here's a great thing about this. Google may have fixed this, but when I first heard about Tulsi Gabbard and some of this stuff, I actually Googled her. So I wasn't one of these people. I didn't watch the debate. I was later, but I did Google her. And, the autocompletes.
Yeah.
One of them was Tulsi Gabbard bikini pics.
Oh.
Because she's from Hawaii and she's like a surfer, I guess.
Oh, so she's, yeah.
So there's a lot of those. And she's not bad looking for a presidential candidate. I clicked it.
Almost none are bad looking anymore.
Oh, there's plenty.
Yeah, but I remember taking a history class and we talked about how the invent of television really changed it because now almost all of our president they end up being more attractive
well, that was
than typical.
The chick from Alaska. What was her name?
I can see her poofy hair.
Everybody knows who we're talking about. But yeah, that was the
Palin.
Yeah, Palin. That was the big thing there. Apparently a lot of older Republican men would vote Palin just because she was pretty.
I don't know.
And she was like
well,
that.
And it's the other way too.
They considered her like that conservative ideal woman,
Strange. It's sad that it auto-completed bikini pics. That's weird.
It's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only did it do that, but it's like, well, Google, you did know what would make me click.
Do you remember when Obama had a shirtless pic?
Oh yeah.
And everyone freaked out.
And but it was with.
He was on family vacation, same as
But a lot of the family was white, and people freaked out about that too.
Yeah, he's mixed.
Yeah.
They're
Remember?
still people.
Do you remember that time when they got caught selling, I believe it was AT&T, was selling the location data to bounty hunters.
No.
You can't say that, Krista.
Yes.
It's been a staple of the Level 1
Yes,
news.
absolutely. I do remember.
Well,
Definitely not lost in flowers and wedding planning ideas.
based on that, New York City has made a severe decision.
New York City to consider banning sale of cell phone location data. Thanks for reading the Times. Create your free account or log in to get 10 articles a month. Continue.
So, this is cell phone companies. So, if you have an app or your phone just hitting mobile towers, they will not be able to sell that data without explicit permission.
Explicit.
Explicit.
That's probably good. Whether it will actually happen.
Yeah, it's probably good. I wonder, though, how, because this makes them a lot of money. So what sort of deceptive trickery will they enter into to try to get that permission?
The worst dark patterns. Like that form we did a story on. The worst form ever.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be like that.
We didn't do a story about it. Did you see the Windows 10? You know how you can do a local account or you can sign up for a Microsoft account?
Yeah.
They temporarily pushed one of the updates. Like, not only could you not find the local account, but you literally had to unplug all your internet and pretend that the computer couldn't connect for 30 minutes in order to even see the option to get a local account.
Wow.
Yeah. So I expect something like that from your phone company. Ransomware. We talk a lot about ransomware, and ransomware is just getting worse.
It's been real bad for like local state governments lately.
Because it shows you what kind of person works at local government, right? Because these are almost always phishing attacks. Almost always. Which means somebody clicked. They clicked something they shouldn't have. Even after news story after news story.
And probably briefings by their IT guy.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Well, it hasn't stopped, and this week's big loser is North Louisiana.
Louisiana governor declares state of emergency after local ransomware outbreak. 3 school districts have been hit by ransomware in North Louisiana this week.
I like how they refer to it as an outbreak.
Like,
It's a spreading disease.
It's like herpes.
So, yeah, state of emergency because these school systems are done.
Well, there was one that had a backup.
I think
right?
one had a backup. Yeah, they
that
said,
IT guy, A+.
And the other thing is, like, in the face of, okay, we recognize that our employees are morons, and they're going to click this stuff. Maybe, because they mentioned here, oh, no, it was Florida. So Florida had the same exact situation, and one town paid $600,000, one paid $500,000, and one had a backup. So you would think that every municipal IT organization in the world would be like, hey,
We should have a backup.
why don't we build a $200,000 backup system? Because that'll be cheaper than either of those other options, and we can make a really good one. No, that's not what they do.
No. Because what if it won't hit us? It won't be us.
Right, yeah.
It's totally not us this time.
Yeah, we had a client that got ransomware, and
Oh, I remember that.
it was a click. And they were like, oh my God, what's happening? What have you done? And then we was like, this email that you clicked? And they're like, oh. Can you fix this?
And they were suddenly real sweet. I had to go to the courthouse last week to get our marriage license. I don't know who does the IT over there, but they have some really nice cable management because I could see it poking out of the ceiling. But it was all color-coded and like zip-tied together and like very nice looking. I was like,
But if you can
wow.
see it poking out of the ceiling, isn't that
Well, listen.
not well managed?
Not super well managed, but I mean, it looks like someone actually took time to work on it. It's not just loose wires hanging everywhere.
Do you think when you go on your honeymoon and you're a filthy tourist,
Mm-hmm.
will you rent some scooters to scoot around on?
You know, I've been asking my fiance that, and he won't answer.
It's a surprise. She doesn't
It's a
even know where
surprise.
she's going.
I don't know where we're going.
Well, if you do have to use a scooter, beware.
Atlanta pauses scooter permits after deaths. The city has come under pressure from activists in recent days who have protested on Atlanta streets after a man riding a scooter was run over by a transit bus. Bad news all around for the city.
But what are they protesting against?
Yeah, I feel like scooters would be like, that's like a nice public service.
Although,
instead of having to catch the bus, you can take a scooter.
I guess they're kind of like bikes, and I hate bikes on the roads.
Do they have bike lanes in Atlanta?
Probably.
Through probably parts of it, yeah. I would think.
I don't like bike lanes either, though.
If bikes have to share the road, I'd rather them be in a bike lane than just riding in the middle of the street.
Yeah, but until they can go, 80 miles an hour.
Oh, you don't know that I couldn't do that.
On a bike?
Pedal a bike, yeah. I could go 80.
We should definitely make a video
I could
about
pedal
that.
it clear over the mountains.
You know what? I bet that like a 6% grade, you'd be hopping off and walking.
Oh, I
out.
would. Yeah. No. I did that even when I was a kid riding a bike. Like, I didn't go uphill.
You didn't stand up and stand up.
I would
and
try, and then
crank
I'd be like, ugh.
it?
I would just push it up.
So a lot of cities actually banned these scooters. They're kind of a nuisance. Atlanta was like, no, we're going to be a city of the future. We're going to work hand in hand with these scooter companies. And then people keep falling under those wheels.
Maybe a bike program would be better. We have a bike program in our town.
I don't know. I mean,
I haven't seen any of those for a while. Do you think they ended that?
I don't think many of those make money. Oh, but it's also summertime.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Once it's fall again, we'll probably see them again.
So yeah, watch out for scooters. Be a real shame if you damaged your car on one.
Also, the human life that was lost.
But it's a scooter rider. Krista and I discussed Boris Johnson's hair.
We did at length.
It is
before in the lost recording.
It is really bad.
It is pretty bad. But you wanted to talk about Trump's hair in comparison.
Also bad. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but you were like, he slicked it back and it looked
there was one time he slicked it back, and I thought, well, that's a lot better. It just makes him look more bald. Now I'm in a glass house here because I don't have any hair, but I'm also I'm just like trying to decide when's the cutoff that I just have to go ahead and just shave all mine off. I feel like
yours looks terrible.
I'm digging down into it. But see, it looks worse on camera because where it's thin, the light just disappears.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Camera's not friendly to anybody, though. You'll learn that if you're ever on camera.
Well, I think that's not true for people in Hollywood. People in Hollywood are all tiny and have giant heads because that photographs well.
I watched some makeup tutorials on Vogue last night. They have a YouTube channel, which I got sucked into the other night. And it made me feel a little bit better because a lot of those supermodels and stuff, they're still gorgeous, but they actually have skin blemishes and stuff too. They look like normal human beings. They just wear so many products you can't tell. Yeah,
it's interesting to see the no makeup pictures.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, you look like a human.
But then some of them still look really good.
Well, they still, feature wise, they still look great. But it's nice to see someone with actual skin texture. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but we've entered into that world where, perception is reality. Because I think there are a lot of people who don't understand that concept at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Boris Johnson.
People have pores.
Boris Johnson looks kind of dumb and weird. And I've heard it said, actually it might have been this article, where it's his whole political career has been look like an idiot, but behind the scenes just be a merciless political climber.
Wasn't that Bush the second?
Do you think he wasn't an idiot?
I sometimes suspect he wasn't as stupid as he made himself appear.
That's a hell of an acting job. If that's the case. But anyway, Boris Johnson gets the same rap. And TechCrunch just spent most of the article bashing him. But there was a speck of good news if you are a fan of technology.
Freshly elected as UK's next PM, Boris Johnson pledges full fibre broadband bonanza. I don't see the word bonanza enough in headlines.
Do you know what bonanza really means?
It's an old Western series from the 70s.
It's a mine that's hit.
Oh.
A lot of gold, for example.
Oh, that's cool.
A bonanza, yeah.
That makes sense for a Western.
Yeah. So, Boris Johnson has promised 96% of the country will have fiber to the pole by 20-something, and then the 99% by the end of his term.
I feel like it's surprising to me a little bit that the UK doesn't already have something like this, because it's a small landmass. I know there's rural areas there, but I don't know a lot about their geography.
I don't think it's just the island.
Well, it's still, even if you combine a lot of their little territories and stuff, it's not.
It's insignificant.
Yeah, it's a small area
of land and people. just really a useless appendage onto Europe. But I'm happy for them that they're banning fiber.
Because it's never going to happen here.
Yeah, we're never going to get it. Well, not in our lifetimes. Your grandchildren, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So, congratulations on your fiber. And
we're jealous.
Yeah.
If it actually happens.
But, you know.
It's a big if.
The freedoms make up for it.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Firecracker sounds.
The guns.
Gunshot sounds.
France. France is known for their military might.
It's funny because they kind of actually are, but the meme is that they're really crappy.
They're not?
Not now, but like back in the day, they had a pretty good military.
Oh, well, they had that revolution.
Yeah, that kind of changed things. People lost their heads. It was a bad time.
But France has said, you know what, we're behind the times, and it's time for us to get on the cutting edge of military power.
France is making space-based anti-satellite laser weapons. The orbital weapons will blind satellites Paris believes are a threat to its own fleet. And there's a picture of the guy there. Francois. I don't know if that's actually his name.
Desmarais?
Desmarais. It's a little country.
So, there you go. There's a picture of a satellite. I don't know if that's necessarily one of the attack satellites, but the idea here is actually France had a little bit of a scare where a Russian satellite was creeping up on one of theirs.
Oh.
And they were like, WTF, bro? Why is the satellite over here? And Russia was like, oh.
He just wandered over there himself.
So France was thinking that the Russian satellite was probably trying to intercept their data and do something with it. So their idea here is that they will have satellites that are laser powered so they can just blast that other satellite. Now, it's not the kind of laser that will destroy it.
It fires a missile.
It will merely blind it because, you know, it's optical.
Yeah.
And
then it won't be creeping
or
anymore.
radio, and then the laser is going to mess that up severely. And even cooler, they're talking about fighter satellites, orbiters, if you will, which will stay with the bigger communication satellite, and if anything gets close, the fighter will then attack.
That's cool.
That
I
is
would
cool.
I would pay money to watch that happen in real time.
It would probably be really slow and uninteresting. And
But it sounds amazing when you think about it.
the lasers themselves would not be visible to the human eye. So really, you'd just be watching like a satellite slowly turn.
And there's no sound, so it's really just like completely silent.
So yeah, you would regret paying that money.
Yeah, probably.
But hey, this definitely does it shows that we are moving toward space war. That's going to be a thing. Because you've got the ICBMs that actually go above the atmosphere, and you've got all these satellites that are up there. If you take out the GPS, you hurt the other military greatly. Communication satellites, blah, blah, blah. We are going to have war in space. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but it's going to happen.
You know, everyone made fun of Trump for the Space Force, but now it's kind of like...
Well, what about Reagan? Star Wars.
Oh.
You don't know about Star Wars?
I don't know. That was before my time.
Huawei, Krista. Let's talk about Huawei. I was surprised to find out that you can get 3G in North Korea.
I was also surprised. You know, that might be the honeymoon destination. Maybe that's where we go.
That would be a hell of a honeymoon.
It's like you can't really enjoy yourself the whole time because you're just like...
No, you literally have to have a handler. Like you
have they have
a North Korean that
follows
takes
you
you everywhere. But I bet the prices are rock bottom.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I would not go.
I'm under this impression, and perhaps I am just blinded by the modern media, you know, and they're spinning these stories about North Korea. But I thought they had a real problem with like starvation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who's buying these 3G phones?
The elite in Pyongyang.
I guess.
It's a fun word to say.
Anyway, who built the 3G network, you ask? Who would do this? Because we're not supposed to do business with North Korea.
Huawei secretly helped build North Korea's wireless networks, leaked documents suggest.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, listen, bro, Huawei can do what they want. They're not part of your stupid American world, you stupid Americans. But guess what? They probably used parts made in the U.S. to build that 3G network. Overwhelmingly likely that they did, because to build a whole 3G network, you almost have to, which would have been a violation of international sanctions.
Yikes.
Not good news if you're Huawei and you want to keep using Android, which we know that they really do.
Huawei's just going to go down in flames.
I don't know. We'll see. You know, they're the number 2 phone sales.
I can see that. I've heard that their the cameras on their phones are fantastic.
They have made a foldable phone.
Satisfying a need that no one in the market
Well,
asked
listen.
for.
What was it? Samsung? Samsung couldn't do it. Here's another headline that Chris is going to struggle with.
Facebook and Google could be forced to hand over details of their algorithms in a new tech regulation. It looks like you're using an ad blocker. Do it now. Get access now.
They should have a little picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In Australia, they are pushing this new law. And the wording of the law, I'd love to scroll down and tell you exactly
what it is. Yeah, but
this is where we get 10 million comments. It's like, why don't you idiots just use NoScript or uBlock or 500 other plugins I want to recommend to you? We've talked about it before. I'm not going to reiterate it.
For a long time, we didn't use an ad blocker.
I'll paraphrase it. Basically, it says that if you are going to use an algorithm that affects how people see things, like if you decide things like the Google arrangement of ads or the ranking of the page or the Facebook ad thing, it's like, why am I seeing this ad? You have to give the government access to that algorithm's code. And
Which,
as we know,
is a highly protected trade secret.
Yeah, Google doesn't let anybody see that for any reason. So maybe Australians just don't get those services anymore. I can't see them playing ball with that.
No.
That's going to be an interesting fight. Maybe they'll just give them like a fake one. You count on them not being able
being able to parse it.
Yeah, that'd be funny. But that'll be a fun fight to watch.
Unlike the space battle.
Right, yeah, much better than that. Also, we're moving into the social media section, and many of you dislike Facebook stories.
Well, that's like the next 5, so.
All but one.
Prepare yourself.
All but one of social media. So
gird your loins.
I'm sorry, but it is Facebook heavy today. And the first one, not a lot of new information here, but Facebook has made some announcements after the $5 billion fine.
Facebook warns of costly privacy changes, discloses another U.S. probe.
Unsurprisingly, this new privacy focus that Zuckerberg is championing, it's going to make them really, really make a lot less money. Because privacy is kind of anathema to what Facebook is.
Well, it's a free service. They're selling you, right? Like, that's what they always say.
So how do we make money while being private? And I don't know that they've figured that out yet. Also, turns out the government is not done with them. Because once again, they're sniffing around, poking around.
Looking for more money.
At Mr. Zuckerberg. And you might think, no, it's not Mr. Zuckerberg. It's Facebook. Why does everybody personify Zuckerberg as Facebook? It's unfair.
FTC to hold Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg liable for any future privacy violations. Who has he upset with an offering of goat? That like.
Well, I think those leaked documents had a lot to do with this because he went in front of Congress and lied his little pants off, and then it came out that he did know the answer to a lot of those questions, and a lot of that stuff was on purpose, and then there was the whole a lot of people get the idea that they orchestrated that $5 billion fine. Like, basically, they wrote it themselves. It's like, oh, no, $5 billion. What will we do? And
as they're, like, sniffing cocaine off of a desk. Like, oh, no.
I think some of the people in the government who understand that are kind of like, no, we're going to go after him in particular because he's clearly making all these decisions, right? And then there was that time that the shareholders tried to get rid of him, and he was just like, nah, bro. That's not how it works.
See, I would think, like, after a certain point, if you have enough money, maybe you would just quit. But, like,
no.
he's probably attracted to the power, right?
But see, that's the thing. You never learn those people's names. Because they get some money and they quit.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's a certain kind of person who becomes one of these people. And you are not those people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And they're, sadly, usually pretty evil. Now, when Cambridge Analytica happened, that was the spark. That was the primer that set off everything that's happened with Facebook and even Google getting caught up in that blast. Because, we found out about all the horrible things that Google was doing with our privacy. Maybe we never would have even questioned it if not for Cambridge Analytica. And when we found out about Cambridge Analytica, it was the API, right? Mm-hmm. Because Facebook was like, hey, here's some code we did, and you can go ahead and use it. Just connect to this API, and you can look up all this wonderful stuff. And we learned about that. And Facebook was like, we're not doing that anymore. Asterisks.
But we kind of are.
And finally, now, how many years ago was that? They are turning off the last two.
Facebook ends friend data access for Microsoft and Sony, the last two of its legacy partners under FTC deal. And then there's the giant photo. The future is private. And it's not true. Future, I guess that is actually true. The far future is private.
I don't think so. I think it's the opposite.
The past is private and the future will never be private again.
How are we ever going to have privacy ever again?
That's true. Not like we used to.
Yeah. Unless there's an EMP or something, or a solar event.
And then we're screwed on a different level.
You'll have all the privacy that you want in your mud hut.
You have a house. You'd be all right. I mean, it wouldn't have services, but, like, you'd have a roof over your head.
But where would I go for food?
You got 2 cats.
Well, they're like 7 pounds each.
That's like months of food.
Plus, I'd have to keep one alive while I ate the other one.
Oh.
What am I going to feed him? Anyway.
That would be brutal. Sophie's choice there.
Oh, I would eat crouton first.
Wow, you didn't even hesitate.
Toast is bae.
That's the cuddly one, right?
The fatter, softer one.
Yeah.
And he spends way more time with me. They're actually getting to the point where they can actually be apart from each other for a little while at a time.
And it doesn't bother him as much. They're probably more comfortable at your house now.
So, Toast is best boy. I mean, I still love Crouton, but Crouton's more fun to pet because he really enjoys it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Facebook all this time was still letting Sony and Microsoft use that same API that Cambridge Analytica was using. And they didn't necessarily make this decision on their own. This was part of the deal, part of the $5 billion deal. They had to dude, you have to stop letting them do that. And they were like, okay.
I guess.
If you're going to let us get away with $5 billion, okay. So, bad news for Sony and Microsoft. They have finally been cut off from the flow of information. Now, when it comes to the big tech companies, the Trojan horse, perhaps, that the government often uses to destroy a thing is, won't someone think about the kids?
Mm.
What the vapes, the flavored cigarettes, all that business.
The jewel pens.
People
or whatever
were making money hand over fist, and the government's like, no, think about the children. Media, all of the controls that we have over television and all that. It's like, oh, no, a kid might see that. And we have all these stupid rules. And that's the way that they control us, is with the children. And Facebook is finding that out firsthand.
Facebook design flaw let thousands of kids join chats with unauthorized users. It was a technical error. I didn't realize Facebook had a kid version. That's what I learned from this article.
I don't know if it's like Facebook Kids as much as it is you put your age in there, And
it just neuters some features.
It's like, oh, you're a kid. So.
Yeah.
Now, I want to take this time to bring up some future predictions that Krista has about her child, which doesn't exist yet. Her theoretical child. Age when they will get a mobile phone.
Oh, when they start like driving, I would think.
16 in the U.S. Krista believes that she will prevent
an actual smartphone, I would say.
No, you're changing your answer now. But even then,
I don't want them to have like an internet-connected device stuck to their hip their entire life.
At that point, you're going to have a hell of a time finding a non-smartphone.
I know.
Even a clamshell is going to have internet connectivity.
See, I'd rather... I don't mind like the kid having a way to like contact their parents or something. I just don't really want them on the internet 24/7.
That is so unrealistic. Now, the other one is internet-connected device at home.
Like unrestricted access or like what?
Well, let's say you give them a tablet. You know, they got it in their room.
They won't be able to do that when they're young.
What age?
Probably like, I don't know. I don't know if I would let them do that until they were a teenager. Like really.
13?
Yeah.
No, chat.
I mean, like chat. Letting them have a tablet is one thing for like educational games and stuff, but like giving unrestricted access to something like that. Do you want your 6-year-old watching Two Girls, One Cup?
I don't disagree with you in theory, but I think in practice, that kid is going to wear you down. It's going to be the only kid that doesn't have that.
Probably.
And you realize kids are getting bullied over like Fortnite skins at this point.
What a weird world we live in.
And you're thinking about bringing life into it.
Someone asked the other day, we were doing a stream and we were playing Overwatch, and someone asked, what if your kid's a Hanzo main? And I was like, oh no.
You got to think.
By the time I have a kid, like, there's probably going to be like 60 characters in that game, and they pick Hanzo.
Tough.
It's tough life.
It's tough. You got to deal with it, though, right? You got to support them.
If you want to try and get headshots and, you know, dragging the enemy spawn, it's, you know, that's what you're going to do.
Well, finally, we're done with Facebook news. So let's talk about YouTube. Now, YouTube, it's kind of a wreck. We get demonetized almost every time, I think, at this point. And the whole discoverability thing, it's just not there. All the reasons that people love YouTube has kind of eroded away in the wake of the adpocalypse. And some people have had enough.
The YouTubers Union is not messing around. The YouTubers Union has joined forces with Europe's largest trade union to fight for a fair platform. Look, this guy looks like he means business. Or he's a history teacher.
I'm not sure, but that looks like a guy whose YouTube channel I watch because he makes like crossbows and stuff.
I don't know who that is. Is there a caption? There isn't a caption on that.
It says Jorg Sprave. Jorg. Anyway, so this is Germany's largest union and Europe's largest trade union. IG Metall has created a YouTubers union, or joined with them, called FairTube, and they're fighting back against all these things. And they're saying that if you demonetize me, you tell me how or why. If you don't make my video discoverable, why not? Why did you choose this one over me to recommend when I'm, more apt for this kind of topic? They want some vision into all of this nonsense that YouTube is doing, and they're getting a giant union behind them, which maybe they'll get some traction.
Maybe.
The problem here is YouTube is not anywhere near the biggest moneymaker for Google.
I feel like YouTube would probably be a money pit because of the hosting cost.
I think they make some money, but the adpocalypse is certainly a way to try to get more.
Yeah.
And so if you have unions coming in trying to be a part of that and taking their cut, their pound of flesh, at what point is Google just like, okay, we're done. We're done with this?
I wonder if one day in the distant future, if there will just be a video site, but it's all specific to the certain type of content you want.
Well, that would be a disaster.
It's like, like cat YouTube, and then, that's hosted by one company, and then dog YouTube, that's hosted by another company. And
I suppose that would help with the advertising stuff.
It would help with the advertising, and then it'd be more specialized and niche, I guess. But
think about
less videos to host all the time.
The beauty of YouTube is that you
can just stumble into weird places.
You'll start with cats. Before you know it, you're into something completely different. Yeah. And you love it.
Vogue videos about doing makeup, and I was like, I don't do my makeup.
Or MREs.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I suspect, though, like, what if you're... The great thing about YouTube, one of the great things about YouTube, is there's no barrier to entry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we bought $20,000 worth of studio equipment, but there was kind of already...
There was some of that stuff already
an
existed.
audience in place there. So if you are just a thought and you're looking to do makeup tutorials or whatever, you can just start doing that. But what if all of a sudden now you got to pay union dues?
Yeah.
And your channel doesn't make any money for the first 2 years. So you're out a bunch of union due money just to be part of YouTube. The whole pay to work thing. It's got its problems as well. But we'll see. And we'll see you tomorrow when we talk about business and a surprise category that we haven't decided yet.
Woohoo! Bye!